Knees and toes.
The shoulders have to do with anything?
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care. We're
The
going.
noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, January 23rd, 2026. As always, I'm PK alongside my co-host Phil, episode 407. We're stacking the episodes post-episode 400. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. For the video version, it's YouTube. For everything else, it's anywhere else. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. You can read Phil's article there. Came out on Tuesday, breaking down the Bandits' second straight loss. Yes, you can do it through the tiers. That's fine. Just have a box of Kleenex next to you. And look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. If you're listening to this on Friday, yesterday, the BSC Power Rankings in the NLL Pick'em came out. If you're listening to this on Saturday, it came out on Thursday. If you're listening to this on Sunday, it came out on Thursday. And every day follows. It's still out last Thursday. Yeah, everybody, I'll do a little spoiler here. All three of us picked the same teams. So it's going to be an all or nothing week. Nobody can gain any ground. Nobody can lose any ground. So it's a very safe week 9 across the NLL. On today's episode, the unthinkable happened, Phil, but only half of it. We're going to go over the Bills firing Sean McDermott. Yeah, it happened on Monday. We're a little late to the party, but we can also include the press conference or whatever the heck that was that went down on Wednesday, because we listened to that before the, I mean, so much has happened with the Bills since our last episode. They lost. We cover that, and then just sweeping changes. Sabres, last two games they're currently playing right now, 1-0. NLL Week 9, Bandits make a trade. And we're going to go over what their team looks like and the roster moves they could possibly make 1/3 of the way through the season, and what they might need and where they might need to improve, just like a quick snippet of their whole season so far. And then BSC Bills Award nominees. I went into the vaults and I found out all previous year winners. So, yeah, we'll see if that trend continues. But we'll start with where I woke up Monday morning. Had a holiday. Happy Martin Luther King Day last Monday to everybody out there. But I don't know. I didn't have an alarm set. And Brooke still had to work. So I got to sleep in. It was a great time. Got to sleep in. But I don't know why, but my body woke me up at 9:30. And that's the same time that the Bills released that they fired Sean McDermott. So maybe I just got like this weird content creator for the Buffalo Bills vibe went through my body, but
Something's happening.
Not only did they fire Sean McDermott, but shortly after that news breaks, we find out not only did they not fire and retain Brandon Beane, but that dumpster fire of a roster that he constructed earned him a promotion. So I guess, what were your overall thoughts on the initial hearing of, we'll go over the press conference in a minute, but Sean McDermott getting the boot and Brandon Beane getting, he was pretty much, I won't say he was the reason for the firing, but he had his hands all over the cookie jar for the reason why Sean McDermott is not here anymore.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, all right, that's step one. I mean, you and I have been talking about getting rid of McDermott for a long time.
13 seconds.
And I will say, because we've said this plenty of times on this show, he's a great coach. We understand he's a great coach. We're not saying he's a bad coach, but he's had too much time with Allen and this team to not have made it at least to a Super Bowl, only a handful of AFC championships. Like, he's had too much time, essentially. And again, he'll get a job somewhere else. He'll probably be great somewhere else. It's not a McDermott thing. It's a McDermott on the Buffalo Bills thing. So I was happy to see that, and then was waiting for the other shoe to fall and was kind of interested and like, okay, so what's going on with Beane? And then, like you said, the news came out that he not only was being kept, but was somehow getting promoted. And right then and there, I lost all hope for anything. Like, I was pretty much just stunned when I saw that news. And yeah, my soul just kind of left my body for a moment. I think the Bills fan inside of me just disappeared and was like, okay. To me, it seems eerily similar to the Buffalo Sabres, firing coach after coach after coach after coach and keeping the same GM to stick around and do something, but realistically nothing. And we'll get to how great Adam's team looks now. He's built a great roster. But yeah, to me, like, it makes no sense. I think everyone's kind of agreed, so we don't have to go too far into this. Like, they came in essentially together. To me, if you're making one change, you should have made both changes because it should be a whole new regime. Like, it should be a whole fresh start for this team. Like, it should have been the whole coaching staff and GM are fired. We're bringing in new people, bringing in a new atmosphere, new energy, new everything, new stadium, whole new team, like start over from your coaching staff and GM perspective. And now you've retained the guy who's done a horrendous job at this point. I know long ago, I feel like we had some hope, some promise for Bean. It was big baller Bean doing some good things. And now the more and more it's gone on, the worse and worse things have seemed with him at the helm. And the only great thing he's seemingly done is pick Allen, which is big. I will give it to him. That is a huge moment, and he can hang his hat on that. But he's had the same amount of time that McDermott's had with his team, and there's plenty of shortcomings on this roster, not to mention the cap is just a joke right now. And I just, again, see very little hope for this team moving forward. Allen's there, so he'll make what he can work, but it's very depressing. I was happy I saw McDermott get fired. I was like, all right. And then just like it was like that they opened the door with a little bit of hope, and then Bean got promoted and just slammed it right shut.
I fully agree with everything you're saying. Well, I mean, if anybody's listened to this podcast for the last, I don't know how many years, we've said that Sean McDermott is a very, very good head coach. He just, to me, this felt a lot like Andy Reid in Philly. Very good coach, very good teams, different end result because Andy Reid's team ended up having a losing record and not making the playoffs when they canned him. But this felt like a needed step that needed to happen, irrelevant of how good of a coach Sean McDermott is. And
Correct.
After everything we've seen this week, I somehow the Buffalo Bills were able to turn a happy moment. Not I shouldn't say happy moment when somebody's fired.
A necessary
necessary evil of this sport of Sean McDermott needing to go after what I thought was years past his expiration date here to be able to move forward. And I think, and we'll go over the press conference in a second here, but I think Terry Pagula, if the one thing that he said right was they hit a proverbial playoff wall. 100%. I fully agree. You see how many losses in the playoffs in different ways that this has happened. And that's not on all Sean McDermott. I've said that multiple times. I think he's a very, very good head coach. I just don't think that he is the head coach to get them over the hump. And clearly wasn't. 9 years here, 7 straight playoffs, wasn't able to even see one Super Bowl. Again, not all on him, but I do think that eventually you can't keep repeating the same thing and expecting different results. Just doesn't work. So after all that, I am very happy that Sean McDermott is going to find a job elsewhere. He's going to succeed, and he's going to do very well wherever he ends up going. Thank you, Sean McDermott, for all the work that you put in here. You took a franchise that was a laughingstock of the NFL and got them out of a 17-year drought and is a playoff contender and league respectability. 100%. There's no way about that. And I don't think that the Buffalo Bills and the Bills organization did enough to say thank you and appreciate the work that you did with this franchise. We're going to go into it in a second, but I want to make sure that's known. He was great in his time here. He's just not the right guy to get them over the hump, and that's perfectly fine.
He was the perfect guy to do what he did. He was the perfect guy to bring in to change the mentality of this team and bring this team along, and He was like, there's no other coach I would have wanted when he came in and for what he's done for Buffalo. Like, he was literally perfect for the role he needed to play to get Buffalo to where they are now. But like we've said, I think he just hit his ceiling in Buffalo, which is fine. And like you said, he'll go be successful somewhere else. He'll get a head coach job and he'll be great. But he was everything Buffalo wanted for the first 5 or 6 years of this team's rebuilding and, rise to power in the NFL. But now it's time to keep going.
Then we got the news that Beane's promoted. I don't understand, and after listening to this press conference, which we're going to dive into right now, I don't understand how you can look at that roster and think that it was a championship roster. We're two idiots behind a microphone, and we've been saying since August, this is not a championship roster. That this is criminal what you did to Josh Allen in one of his last years in his 20s. Well, his last year in his 20s. Not one of, it is. He's going to be 30 next year when he's playing football. I listened to that press conference. I felt going into it, I was like, okay, there's no way Terry Pegula is going to talk. He's going to come in there, introduce Brandon Beane, and thank Sean McDermott for his work. And then, 20 minutes beforehand, we heard there's 2 microphones on the table. I'm like, oh, God, I don't even have my popcorn here. We knew it was going to be a circus show when Terry Pegula is behind the microphone. He's not a public speaker. I'm not a public speaker. But I'm not a billionaire that owns 3 professional teams in sports. You have to be able to have some type of professional speaking, public speaking.
Especially after the last time he tried public speaking and it went so well for him last time.
Oh my God. So I saw multiple people. I think Pat Moran was one of them, going if you're a team person that covers this, media, content creator, if you're not ripping the Buffalo Bills to shreds, you're not being unbiased and you're being too biased towards this team. We're far from being biased, and here comes the ripping. Terry Pegula is still the biggest dum-dum in the sports. He has zero clue about... We've said it multiple. He got so lucky hiring Sean McDermott that Brandon Beane came along, and they got lucky drafting Josh Allen because there were multiple quarterbacks they could have taken, and they took Josh Allen. Full credit for that. But, how can somebody that is that successful in life, and he's fully successful, the businesses, owning everything, kudos. But how can you be that bad in press conferences? You're in your 70s. Haven't you had to do press conferences before? They said, and I understand, and he kind of referenced this a little bit more, that it wasn't just the one playoff loss, but he started the press conference when they asked him. All he said was he made the decision after seeing players cry in the locker room after a loss. Then later on in it, he had a preference. Okay, it was because of this and this and this, and it felt like, okay, that's cool. But why didn't you start with that? Because now all the headlines around the NFL, if people don't listen to this press conference, is your owner went in there, saw your star quarterback crying, go up and made a quick joke of saying, it was a catch, even though he kept saying, it was a catch, multiple times. It seemed like a 4-year-old at the press conference who had a microphone just sprouting out words. Guy that shouldn't have a microphone in front of his face. I can understand and appreciate the decision he got to with relieving Sean McDermott of his duties. That was the correct decision. The route that he got to it, I don't like, because he kept saying that's when he came to realize that he needed to move on and find a different coach, was in the locker room seeing everybody cry. Then he illustrated, okay, it's because of this and this and this. To me, I don't understand how Brandon Beane gets away scot-free, because they doubled down. Terry Pegula doubled down and said no. He even body bagged Keon Coleman for no reason. Zero reason. Not one reporter brought up his name beyond saying, okay, you haven't really done anything to this locker room with the wide receiver room, with the free agents in the draft. I believe they mentioned Keon. And then Terry Pegula sets in let me interrupt here. Keon Coleman was not his pick. You're the GM of the team. There's receipts. The Bills film everything.
Multiple receipts.
Within 2 minutes, they had multiple videos of Brandon Beane being excited. Now, did he want to select him right then and there? Probably not. I think he wanted him later on in the draft. That's fine. I understand that. I agree with it. But to say that was not his pick and that he was being a team player, dude, so this is your team. your hands are all over this, whether you get input from the coaching staff, whatever. I love that you get input from your coaching staff. But at the end of the day, you're the GM. You need to accept responsibility for the team that's here. And zero blame got put on Brandon Beane from the ownership. And that got pushed. He got pushed up to a promotion. They said like the roster and even the practice squad was good enough to win a championship and gave zero credit to the coaching staff. Zero. Like the entire press conference was just beating up the coaching staff non-stop. That is one thing that I hate about this whole situation, and I've hated people like this my entire life. People that can't defend themselves in that moment, you're just piling on. Like Sean McDermott, even if he was there, wasn't going to talk bad about that organization and the ownership. But you just body bag him anyways. Like he's sitting on the ground and you're just kicking him in the head over and over. Brandon Beane, to me, I don't understand. Like he's still blaming the cap. He's still blaming Josh Allen for all the reasons why they can't afford players. When a couple days ago, Philly's GM, who is one of the best GMs in all of football, is saying, no, that's not an excuse. Like you can build for the now and the future. Like to me, I don't know how, but Terry Pegula made Brandon Beane like look better in my eyes. And I had to actually like step back and realize, okay, Brandon Beane still built this team. Like the responsibility still falls on him, but holy cow, Terry Pegula made Brandon Beane look bad. I went from being excited about a new direction with this team without Sean McDermott to holy cow, like he was the only grown up in the entire room. That's what I felt like. And I don't feel like Brandon Beane had a say in the coaching staff. I feel like this was Terry Pegula hand all over it, made a split-second decision after seeing players cry in the locker room. And he went with it, and it felt like the second half of the whole press conference, I thought Brandon Beane did better at it, and he was trying to clean up the mess that Terry Pegula was laying down, and every time he did something, Terry Pegula butted in and go, well, actually, like, he was trying to save face with Keon Coleman so many times, because he's like, okay, even if Keon's not going to be on this team, what you did was destroy any value he had in the trade market, because every GM, every team, every fan base heard that press conference, and you just saying like, Keon wasn't our guy. We didn't want him. Whatever. Like, he has some growing up to do. He did not play well this season, and pretty much all the comments that he said were fine and fair, just not in the public eye. Like, you say that behind closed doors, because now I bet you as soon as Brandon Beane got out of that press conference, he had at least 5 GMs on the phone going like, I'll give you a 7th for Keon. Like, what do you want for Keon? Like, there's zero chance that Keon Coleman can play on this team again, because you just listen to your GM go on a giant rant of saying like, you suck. We don't want you. We never wanted you. And the only reason you're here is because of the coaching staff. And then he had a preference afterwards and clean it up and say, well, technically I wasn't saying that was Sean's pick, which that's fine. If that wasn't Sean's pick either, preference it. Like, he is such a bad speaker in general. At one point he was like, because somebody asked him, and I thought it was a fair question, you're spending $850 million of taxpayer money on this new stadium. Shouldn't you be more available to the public? And he goes, yeah, probably. But, I mean, I can't even see my daughter play tennis. Who cares? Like, this is what you signed up for. Would you like that? I understand that he wants to go watch his daughter play tennis. And I understand all the stuff that went on in his family. I fully get that. And to an extent, yeah, I fully understand with Kim's whole situation. I get that. But, like, if you're spending that much money of taxpayer money and you're not available to kind of explain anything with all these teams, like, we're not asking you to sit down for 3 hours every single time you talk. But when the last time that he talked about the Bills was 2019. That was pre-COVID. Like, it went from a fan base that it was so tough to lose their love and their fanship to, I would say, maybe 50% of this fan base is just going like, we're in trouble. Like, they still have Josh Allen. You're still going to win 11, 12 games a year. But I went from, okay, fresh start, fresh eyes to this is who's picking the next coach. And I went from, man, the Bills are the most stable thing out of the two big teams between them and the Sabres. To how are the Sabres making the Bills look so good right now? And that's pretty much. I think I touched on all the points I wanted, but oh my God, Phil, like that press conference did them zero favors. Not only in the public eye, like the whole national audience, but just here at home, who listen to the reporters, and all the reporters go on Twitter afterwards, just going like, "What did we just hear?" Like everybody had to listen twice just to catch up on all the stuff. Like Keon Coleman should not have been a talking point in that press conference, and he got made a talking point like 3 questions in. It was absolutely bananas, that press conference. I if you're like us and need to produce content in the off season, round of applause and thank you, man, because we got loads of it. We can go on to a whole off season breaking this down.
And it's wild, like a team that has no cap space and no big ability to add any wide receivers. Like I know Coleman struggled a lot, but you kind of need him to stay on. Like again, like you said, like I don't know if he's going to be on this team anymore after all that, but like just having the idea that he's even if he's your wide receiver 4 on this team, you have no wide receivers on this team right now. Like having someone going into their year 3 who knows, maybe he can turn around. Maybe in the 3rd year he can take that next step and finally be that guy. He's shown very small flashes, but he has shown flashes of talent. Like your wide receiver core is a joke, and you just ripped one that is actively on your team and signed to your team, who is young and may have promise. I'm not a huge Keon Coleman fan, but this wide receiver core could use anything they can possibly get, and a young one who doesn't cost a ton of money, you just like outed with no great way of getting a new wide receiver other than through the draft and to kind of start all over with somebody else. Like, I don't know. The whole thing was ridiculous, like you said. I mean, as much as we want Pagula to talk and be out there
I don't
for
know
press
how they
conferences, he can probably never do anything again.
Also, thank you. Should I salute Admiral Sean McDermott? Like, you don't even get the first line of your statement about him. No, whatever.
But as far as a conspiracy theory, I mean, do they have Terry talk at these? Because everyone knows that Brandon was like the number one enemy in people's eyes.
He's the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, they just like, hey, focus on this guy, because clearly we're keeping being around for a long time. So keep your eyes off of him. We'll give you someone even worse to hate, and he doesn't care. He's got tons of money, so he's just living the high life anyway, whether people
he said he doesn't
are
listen to
ripping him or
anybody
not.
that says anything yet. When he got into ownership, he was like, oh yeah, I listen to talk radio all the time. Well, you have to listen, like,
I'm sure he's got people that say stuff. He's probably like, whatever, I got a yacht.
Yeah.
So
I got a yacht that's too big and they can't ship it to me.
So
that was a
he's
thing
doing
too.
all right. Yeah. So I do wonder if like they were kind of like, hey, yeah, why don't you go talk? Because then you'll take a lot of the focus off of Brandon Beane, who needs to build this team, and everybody currently is pretty upset with. Just put all your blame on Terry and focus over there, and just kind of ignore what Beane's doing behind the scenes.
Don't look at the magic man behind the curtain. What was the line? The wizard, the man operating the curtains behind it, wizard of whatever it was. But the only thing else I'll say about this, and then we can move on to the Sabres here, is I just want to pat myself on the back. I've said it for a few years now. If you pay good players lots of money that aren't great players, this is the situation you land in. And I think a lot of people, whether you listen to the show or not, thought that idea was dumb. I said it was dumb to pay Greg Rousseau. I said it was dumb to pay Terrell Bernard. I said it was dumb to play a lot of these guys that are middle-of-the-road guys, decent-sized money, to be good, not great. I said it all last offseason when they lost to Kansas City again in the playoffs last year. They have too many good, not great players on this team. There's not enough great players on this team. The reason that you're in cap jail right now is because you've paid so many of those players. Curtis Samuel's making $10 million. Josh Palmer's making over $10 million. Like, you paid Elijah Moore over $2.5 million a player. You're paying good, not great players middle of the road money, and you've paid so many of that, yeah, you can I'm not even saying that they can't win a championship next year. When you have Josh Allen, you have a good shot at any time. Whether I believe that or not is one story. But when you're paying so many good, not great players, you run out of money. And yeah, there's things that you can do with the cap, but eventually you're going to pay the piper here. And I don't know, man. Like, I just hate the BS excuse of we pay Josh Allen $55 million. We can't afford other players. It's a BS excuse. Kansas City, yes, they missed the playoffs, but look at who they got. They got Travis Kelce at the end of his career, whatever. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy. Like, they load up one of the best players in the NFL with star talent, and they got a great defense. Like, you don't need, like, I don't know. I think plenty of people have already went over the same topic. I'm kind of running it into the ground. It's just that press conference did so poorly that I feel so bad for Josh Allen. And like the team is not the worst. Like, there are some good players on this team. I'm not trying to trash the whole lineup. Like, there are some useful pieces on this team. James Cook, great, but running back, led the league in running. Offensive line is great. But like, when you're relying on AJ Epinesa and Greg Rousseau, who are making way too much money, when you're relying on Daquan Jones up the middle, when you're relying on Shaq Thompson to come in, who is a street free agent, and Jordan Poyer back there to save your season,
and
like,
Trey White,
what are you doing? Like, you relied on so many players to come back to this organization, and yeah, that says something about your organization, but if you're relying on them to play meaningful minutes, and when you're not there, you're afraid of what the backups are. And the head coach gets zero credit for coaching those guys up. It's just, we had talent to win the championship. Like, if you were to talk to anybody off the record, because Terry, you had a lot of money. When people talk to you, a lot of people around the league are going to butter you up because you got a lot of money. That's what happens. There's not very many people that tell you to your face what it is. Even though Brandon Beane apparently swears and F's them up and down all the time and flips them off. Cool. Good for you. I don't think people do it enough. Of course, people are going to tell you, you got a lot of talent on your team there, man. They're talking about one player in particular, and it's Josh Allen. Think where we would be as a fan base if Josh Allen either didn't pan out to what he is now or wasn't drafted by Buffalo. Like, it would be a dumpster fire right now. So when you can say that and then look around the rest of the team and say, like, this isn't a playoff team, you don't have a good talented team to promote your GM to president of football operations. And what's funny is how many people have been asking for hockey ops, and instantly you get somebody from football. But we'll move on. I think we talked this one in the ground. Let's talk about the most stable of the two teams in Buffalo right now, which is the Sabres. Monday they lost versus Carolina 2-1. They got goalied. That's all there is to it. I mean, Bussy, I believe his last name is, he was incredible. Like, he's playing, I think he won 17 of 21 games he played in at that point and just absolutely bodied Buffalo. Like, Tage at one point should have scored that one, and he looks back and go like, how the heck did that not go in? But they bounced back in Nashville on Tuesday. Oslin had two. Hellenius. I'm trying to remember. He pronounced how he wanted it. It's not Hellenius anymore. It's Hellenus. There we go. I got to it. I'm trying to get better at names, guys. 5 years in. Tage and Krebs score. They win 5-2, 5-3. I don't. For some reason, I don't have the score in front of me. Lyon played unbelievable. I mean, this was another example of why on the last episode I said I'm back in. Like, I climbed out of the pool, I got on the diving board, and I dove right in. This is a different team. They're winning 2-0 now at this point, and they're first in the wild card spot with a game in hand over two of the three teams in front of them. And one of the teams in front of them right now is Montreal that they're playing tonight, and they're 2 points back. Like, it's a realistic possibility that not only does Buffalo get in the playoffs, they're one of the top 3 seeds in their conference. Like, that's how well they're playing right now. That kid line, hopefully they keep that together for years and it works out better than the last kid line that I fell in love with. But this team right now has all the making, and they're doing this all without Josh Norris as well, who's still week to week. I still want to see what Yarmo does. He signed Josh Doan to a contract extension under $7 million for 7 years. I'm not going to comment on the money situation, but getting him locked up for the amount of time that he did, fantastic, because he was going to be an RFA, and I think he locked up 4 of his UFA years. I think what needs to happen is you need to figure out this 3 goalie situation now that all 3 of them are healthy. But to me, you also need to get another top 9 forward on this team because you can't rely on Josh Norris to remain healthy all year. They're getting by without him right now, but this is the moment where we need Yarmo to go from his cabinets that are filled right now and go get another good scoring player on this team if you want to actually break the drought and, dare I say, make a little bit of noise in the playoffs. But I really think if they continue, and I said it last episode, if they continue to play this style, they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. And I didn't think I would be saying that after I ripped them to shreds in November. I mean, well done, Kevin Adams, man. Like, round of applause. They fired you too early, man. You got the short end of the stick on this one.
Yeah, he built an incredible roster. We just didn't know it until he was gone. Yeah, I mean, they're playing well. The weird thing with them, and it seems to be a very consistent theme, which is okay because they're still winning them, but against mediocre or bad teams, they like to get a huge lead and then just kind of watch it evaporate in the third period, and it's happened 3, 4, 5 times now. I don't know what's going on with that. They need to figure out how to finish games when they're up 4-0, 4-1, whatever it is. We've seen way too many games end up 5-3. I think, 3 games? 5-4, 5-3. Like,
yeah, teams have been peeling away at the lead.
Yeah, and that's okay because you're getting the win, but like keep the foot down. Even when we watched against the Canadians, it seemed like once they got the lead, they dropped into a whole different style of game. Yeah. And just like the Canadians all of a sudden took it to them the whole rest of the game, and they were just hanging on for dear life. It's like they dropped into a defensive shell instead of playing the game that was working so well. And it seems to be happening in these games where they get leads and then they change the way they're playing because they have that lead and they don't know how to play with it. So hopefully that's something that they can learn from moving forward and just kind of figure that situation out. But the other thing that Yarrow has to kind of worry about now is the Tuck situation, especially with the trade deadline coming up. You either got to move on or you have to sign him for something before the trade deadline. I know it's still a little ways away, but they got to figure that out sooner than later. And honestly, I know he's been very injured and hasn't had a great chance here, so it's hard to say get rid of him, but I could see if something happens, I could see Norris being a trade piece at this point. He's been so unhealthy and kind of useless to this team. When he's out there, he's been decent, but if you can trade him and be like, hey, when he's healthy, he's good, pick up this guy, kind of like wherever he came from did to Adams. Yeah. I mean, they kind of gave him the same spiel, I assume, like, hey, when he's out there, he's great. Hopefully the Sabres can maybe package him with something like a pick and him as a promising forward to get someone else who's a little more stable. But overall, they're doing well, and it's exciting to say.
Yeah, I haven't thought about moving Josh Norris. His biggest issue is that contract. It's a hefty deal for long term. I do agree with Tuck, but at where you are, even if they can't get him locked up, they can't move him. Like, there's no chance. Like, to me, this is their worst situation when it comes to Alex Tuck because they're winning, he's performing, right. And it's going to cost you money because they didn't lock him up earlier. So
you'd have to get something literally equal value back, and at that point, like, why would another team trade for someone of equal value? So that's going to be very difficult.
Yeah. So to me, as long as they keep playing this system, even if you lose Alex Tuck in the offseason, that's a future problem. I'm not worried about
that's fair.
That future. I'm worried about breaking this drought because you saw what happened. I'm not trying to compare the two, even though the Sabres are stable right now. I think the biggest issue with this team is just breaking that drought and going from there. That's what we were with the Bills at some point. We were just like, just get in. Like, even if you get blown out in the first round, I don't care. Just get this monkey off your back. And then you see they draft Josh Allen. Yeah, they missed the next year. But then you make it 7 straight years and you're competitive every single season. Just get the monkey off your back to me. Yep. That's all you got to do. But we'll move on. Oh, yep.
Which goalie would you move on from?
To me, I would like to move on from UPL. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to move on from Alex Lyon just because it's a shorter term deal, making less money, and he's a very good backup across the league. So I feel
like Lyon right now is like my favorite goalie on the team.
I agree. He's going to carry the most weight. I know UPL's been playing really, really well, but I'm not getting blinded by that again. I do not think he's a long-term
I trust Lyon
answer
the
in
most out of them. So I hope they move on from Ellis, but like I think they said Yarrow kind of brought him in, so I think that'll be tough. UPL would be nice, but I think they like how young he is, and he has had hot streaks. But out of the three goalies, I think Lyon's the most stable to get you down the path to playoffs and maybe some more. So we'll see how that all shakes out.
So before we work on the back half of this episode, because I know we're like 35 minutes, and let's dive into our sponsor of the episode, Tap That Tap Room.
Tap That Tap Room's at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps offering a variety of beers, ciders, sours, seltzers, and malt beverages.
They got a very busy couple days coming up. 5 to 7 on Friday is happy hour. Get down there, find your new favorite. Drink along the beer wall. DJ Nightlight is taking over at 7 p.m. following happy hour on Friday night. They need your help to create the playlist. Go on their Facebook and Instagram page, comment the song that you must hear, tag a friend, and bring them along. Party all night long with DJ Nightlight at Tap That Tap Room. Then Saturday, come in for a more sophisticated time. 3 p.m. is the Euchre Tournament, $10 buy-in, and it includes a beer. And then Monday, what we've been pumping out, this is the last time to get your tickets. Mosaic Buffalo Plaque Workshop is Monday, 6:30 to 8:30. Final reminder, get your tickets because this thing is going to sell out. They got a ton of stuff coming up at the end of the month that we'll go over on the next episode, but Tap That Tap Room just keeps pumping out more and more events. To find out what other events they got coming up that I've been hinting at, check out their Facebook page and find out what's on tap and what's on deck. Check out tapthattaproom.com because they have something
for everyone. The Mosaic Buffalo Plaque, I believe that is round 2. I think round 1's
right.
already done.
Yeah, this
that
is round
the,
2.
the second. It was so popular, they are bringing it back, so you got another chance to get your Mosaic Buffalo Plaque Workshop in.
Good catch on that, because I was like, I thought that happened last week. Yeah, good call. It was so popular, they're bringing it back. So don't miss out this time, because I don't know if they're going to do it a third time. Week 9 across the NLL. 2 games on Friday, 2 games on Saturday. Friday, I just wish they would have spaced these out a little bit better. But 7 p.m., 2-3 San Diego heads to the 1-4 Philadelphia Wings. I almost said Eagles. We all took San Diego. People took San Diego at 69%. Rapid fire through these 4 games, Phil. What is something that you're looking forward to or keeping an eye on in this matchup?
Yeah, San Diego just came off a massive victory to keep their season going, and they need to do it again. I think they need to use that momentum that they got from that last game. They have to continue to win. It's very similar to Philly versus Vegas, where Vegas needed that win to stay in the hunt. San Diego's the same way. You don't want to drop to 2-4 and get Philly up to 2-4. This is a game they should win and a game they need to win. And as for Philly, just keep losing. The more they lose, the better the chance Buffalo Joe can come back to Buffalo. So just keep on losing.
Yeah, Buffalo Joe is going to be a hot commodity around deadline time because
sure is.
Buffalo's looking for a righty. Halifax is looking for a righty because they just traded Dawson Thied. Yeah, I know Dawson Thied's a lefty, but their righties, ever since Thomas Hogarth went down, are kind of shallow over there, and Bomberry hasn't really done anything. So the more Philly loses, the more likely it is that Joe Rezateris could be moved. And I think Toronto is also looking for a righty as well. So there's a lot of teams that are looking for righty help that Buffalo Joe can help with. But yeah, getting San Diego back to 3-3 would be massive for them after the start to the season they had. So I would like to see what O'Rig does in net again after his best performance in years back versus Vancouver. And then also if Philly can score like 9 or fewer goals, I'm right back on track, man. Like They're at 1 goal over the 10-goal game pace right now. That 7 was massive last week. I needed to get 9 or fewer this week. 7:30 following 3-2 Vancouver heads to the red hot 4-3 Ottawa Black Bears. Philly, God, I am all over the place here. Phil, me, and the people took Vancouver. The people took Vancouver at 60%. This was a lot closer than Vancouver has been a lot all season. They've been around like the 80-90% tier. I think this more shows less about what Vancouver's done and more about how hot Ottawa's been so far because they've beaten Saskatchewan. They've beaten Buffalo. Can they beat everybody's number 1 team going into the season in Vancouver? And can Vancouver come across the country and get to me, a statement win at this point. Their offense has been bad. They need guys to step up. And if Ryan Martell can get back to the lineup, that would be massively helpful. But you need these bigger guys to kind of just take over a game and say, like, I'm going to carry you over the hump. Because if they fall to 3-3, I think that is a conversation that's not being talked enough around the league, is their struggles early on this season.
Yeah, you took a lot of good stuff in there. I do think this is a game where both teams are trying to prove that they're at the top of the league. I mean, if Vancouver wins, again, like you just said, Ottawa's red hot, but if Ottawa can knock off Vancouver, I think that they've shown enough to say, like, hey, we're here. Like, we're a team that needs to be taken seriously, and I think a Vancouver loss would be massive. To me, this game probably, or at least could very well, come down to goaltending. Vancouver's coming off a pretty bad game against San Diego where they lost that one that they don't want to, but Ottawa's look good, and if Higgins can do what he did against Buffalo, that's going to be an issue for Vancouver's struggling offense. But Vancouver, we know their defense and goaltending is really good. So Buffalo did, to me, I know they lost, but they did a good job limiting Ottawa's pretty hot offense. And if Vancouver can find a way to take Teat out of the picture and not let him score 5 goals, I think they have a good chance of winning too. So this could end up being a pretty low-scoring game and could come down to the goalies of just which one gets that big save at the end.
Saturday, 7 p.m., 3-3 Georgia, 3-2 Toronto. We all took Georgia. Georgia at 54%. This was the closest one. It was a difference of 2 votes here for the people. I think having no Nick Rose in net and having to rely on a combo of Steve Orleman, which we'll dive into in a second, and Troy Holachuk, it's going to be very interesting. But Georgia, round of applause. You finally did what I said you should have done years and years and years ago, is you tore this thing down and rebuilt it through the young guys, and it's worked out. And now that Torrin Eccleston is back in this lineup, I think they have some offense. Lyle had his best game of his season as well. If you get, I think we said it in the last episode, 11, 12 goals. Like, we're not asking you to put up a ton of goals like we are with Vegas.
That seems like too much for Dobson right now.
Yeah, if you get to double digits, you have a very good chance of winning this one. Yeah, it's insane how well they're playing, not just in net, but their defense as well, and their transition game's filthy. I know they just put up 19 goals in Edmonton. That's one thing, but if literally, Phil's half joking. If you get to double digits, you might have a good chance to win this game because of how good the back end's working. So Georgia, they're probably going to be my biggest miss this year, is if they keep this up.
Yeah, I don't fully trust or believe in Georgia just yet, right. But with the way Dobson is playing and that defense is playing, well, you just said you don't need much from your offense, and their offense is slowly starting to put it together. Toronto, to me, is a huge question mark. Yeah. I don't know what they are or what they're doing, especially with Rose now injured. That's going to be a big deal.
They didn't want him anyways. So
true. And their offense has been not good pretty much the whole season so far. So a mediocre, to me, offense going up against one of the best goaltenders in the league right now. I don't love that for Toronto, especially when they're missing their starting goalie. So I think that's going to be a really tough battle for Toronto. And if Georgia gets to 4-3 and Toronto, like, again, we talked about it, it's very early, but these standings are so bunched together. Like, everybody's pretty much within half a game. There's not too much. Yes, there's a couple teams at the bottom and one right now at the top, pretty much. Most of it's still pretty jammed. Again, six games in for most teams, so it's not going to be that spread out, but you're really not seeing a ton of 5-1 teams or 4-2 teams and everybody else at the bottom. Like, most of them are 3-3, 3-2, 2-3. Like, they're all right in the middle.
Saturday, final game of the weekend, 2-5 Oshawa, 4-2 Colorado. Colorado's going to be another big miss for me. That's Buffalo's next opponent. So if you're going to watch any of these 4 games, that would be the one I would watch. We all took Colorado. People took Colorado at 65%. Big trade from Oshawa this week, bringing in Dawson Thied. They needed more beef on that offensive side. They bring it in for the lefties because, yeah, Dyson Williams is a big boy, but he's not a bruiser. I think this trade is going to work out perfect for both teams because Halifax needed to limit the power play opportunities that they give other teams. Dawson Thied had been committing a lot of penalties and getting in a lot of trouble. Oshawa needs somebody like that. So I think, to me, this is a big win-win type of thing. I think it's just hilarious because of all the shenanigans that Dawson Thied had against Oshawa. Has got to go in that locker room and goes, I was just kidding. Like, Yeah, always loved you guys, but yeah, I think bringing in Dawson Thied for that offensive side, that means you can't lose this one. If you drop to 2-6, it's similar to what you did last year, trying to dig yourself out of this pit. Like, this would be not just a massive win for this team. To me, this is a must win for Oshawa. If you drop this one, I don't see how you dig that way out, because the best you can finish is 12-6, and that would involve winning 10 straight games. So
Yeah.
I think to me, this is a must-win game for Oshawa, and you're going against a very good Colorado team.
Yeah, I think Colorado, I mean, first off, I think it'd be funny if Theed's like, you know what I did to you guys? I can do it for you now.
Yeah.
You're welcome. But yeah, Colorado to me has been, like you just said, a big miss and a big shock so far, how they started their season. Their back end and Dylan Ward have, again, not been talked about enough to me. I think they are quietly putting together a very complete team that is going to be scarier than I think people realize. I think, to me, they're already pretty established as a top team. I don't think they're really getting a ton of credit for it yet. They are slowly getting more and more credit for being a complete team, but with Q back in that lineup, they looked really good on offense. They're starting to put together that, even with the loss of Lee. Their offense, again, they're similar to me to Georgia, where they don't need to do a lot right now. Their back end and Dylan Ward have been amazing, where if you can get a consistent 10, 11 goals, you got a good shot at winning every single game with how their defense and Dylan Ward are playing. So, and I think with what they've done with Hannah, Malcolm, and Q, I think they can get there to the 10, 11 goals pretty consistently. So Colorado to me is a scarier team than I thought they would be, and I don't love that Buffalo has to come out of the bye week and go play them.
So I'm excited to sit down and only watch 4 games this weekend. As much as it's been nice to see like 8 games and 7 games, it is nice to mix in a few 4 to catch up on a bunch of stuff around the house. We'll move on. Buffalo Bandits make a trade and help out their counterparts in Toronto. Steve Orleman goes to Toronto for a 2026 third-round pick. It will be either Toronto's or Vancouver's, whichever one is lower. To me, this says less about Steve Orleman and more about, and kind of talking about this throughout the week, Evan C. gets bumped up to the active, which means it opens up a practice squad spot, which we'll talk about in a minute. Less about that and more about, first off, this might be the biggest age difference between a starter and a backup ever in the entire NLL. Like, I think Matt Vince is 22 years older than Evan C., and Evan C. is 21, so that says something. But if Matt Vince, who you're relying on, is 43 years old, he's probably, if not the most in-shape player in the entire league, hands down. But he's still 43. To me, this is what is worrisome, because if he goes down, like, just say tweak something, like whatever, like, I'm not going to say the I word, but if something happens to him, the only goalies on your roster right now are 2 guys that have never suited up for an NLL game. I think they would go out and acquire a goalie, but my biggest fear right now, and eventually they were going to have to pay the piper here. You couldn't have kept 4 goalies on your 25-man roster the entire season. If the only way is if everything goes perfect. But you started the season with 3 guys on your IR already. That's how you were able to sneak both those guys to practice.
Everything going perfect would be guys are constantly injured.
Yeah, you just recycle guys every 2 weeks would be the
Which
perfect
was
outcome.
working.
It was working, and then everybody started getting hurt, and now everybody's getting healthy. To me, I'm a bit worried. Not because, you don't have Steve Orleman and Matt Vince's ear anymore. It just goes down to, okay, can you actually pull Matt Vince for a second to calm everything down like they did in Rochester? And I know Orleman came in and they scored right away, even though that wasn't on him. Do you have faith to put Evan C. back there when he's never faced an NLL shot in NLL action? And I know everybody at some point has had that moment where he's never played before, and you end up having to play. To me, I don't know how you can continue the rest of the season unless they're seeing something in Evan C., and this is year 4 for him, even though he hasn't played a single second. I don't know how you can rely on him and trust, and this is what we said all offseason. I don't know how you can rely on a team that has so many veteran pieces that are likely in their final season to rely on a goalie who's 21, 22 years old, backing up Matt Vince, because if something goes down with Matt Vince, yes, massive drop-off, no matter who is the backup. But to put in a guy like Evan C., to go in there, like, that's unfair to him. That's unfair to the players that are playing on this team. That's unfair to everything. Like, to rely on him to be the main guy back there, again, that's like the nuclear option if Matt Vince does go down. Knock on wood, everything. But I think, to me, there's been like little breadcrumbs. Like, Mike McCannell comes in, and then Steve Orleman goes out. Like, I think there's like, just like, this is the start of something with Chugger in the trade market. Like, I don't think they're done. Like, I think there's going to be more moves, whether that's bringing in another goalie or just helping out in other areas of need. We'll go over it. They don't have room right now. Like, they have one open spot and 4 guys on the IR that are working their way back. Like, there's no room right now. So that's my thought on the trade. I don't know if Jamie had to buy Chugger something to be able to squeeze Orleman, because those two teams don't really make deals very often. And to see them kind of help Toronto to an extent here was a bit shocking for me.
I do think a 2026 third is big.
I agree.
I know
they going into it, they didn't have a single third-round pick for the next 3 years. So now they have one.
And we've talked about a lot how we don't really care about rounds 3 through, what, 6?
2 through
5?
6. 2 through 6.
Even 2. But everyone's talked about how 26 and 27, the draft classes are really, really deep. So whether the Bandits hold and use that pick to get youth is one thing, or like you just kind of mentioned, I could see them, because it's in 2026, it's more enticing to a team to trade, like to receive that in a trade in the future. So because it's a big draft and it's a soon draft, you're not getting a 2029 or 2028 third round pick. Like, if he packages that with somebody else, I think that could be something he uses to his advantage in the future. If it was a 4th, I don't think it looks as good. If it's from 2028, I don't think it looks as good. So I think what he got in return is good. I'm happy for Steve Orleman. Hopefully he gets a shot out there. Obviously with Vince here, you're not going to get much of a chance until he's gone. And clearly, I mean, he could, I don't know what his contract situation is. There's a chance he comes back in the offseason if Vince retires.
He can't come back.
Okay.
Unless they relinquish his rights, but why would you do that?
Right. So that kind of clears up. So essentially, they believe in Evansy, or they believe in Shognosh in the future. Like, they think they are the future of the team. Like you said, you're worried about a veteran, but I do think that if anything were to happen to Vince that's serious enough. I mean, for one, we've talked about this so much with Allen on the Bills. Like, if he goes down, your season's over.
Right.
It's the same thing with the Bandits right now. If Vince goes down, like down, I got some wood here. Your season would be toast. I mean, not to be mean, but we've talked about it so many times. You need that all-star goalie to get you to a championship. If he goes down, it doesn't matter who's back there, it's over. But if you need a bridge, I think, like you said, I think Dietrich would just go out and find some way to get somebody and move some things around. I think he's kind of kicking the can down the road, where, like, right now he's comfortable with what he's got. He's got to make room for these people. Like you said, it was at some point, you can't have 4 goalies on the roster. This is the move he made. I think it's the move he wanted to make. He wants to keep the young guys. That's why they had 4 on the roster to begin with. So I think it's kind of, yes, on one hand, you're kind of playing with fire, because if something does happen, you would need to go out and make a move. But I think he's, on one hand, you're just kind of hoping nothing happens and you're good. If Evansy needs to go in for literally one game, I could see them trusting him enough to go in for a game, and whatever happens, happens. If he gets the win, congratulations. If he gets a loss, they can worry about it later. But if it's needed for an extended period of time, I could see them just going out and finding a goalie to bridge that gap until Vince comes back. But if you lose Vince for the season at any point, it doesn't really matter who's back there.
Yeah, I the way you phrased it makes so much sense. Kind of kicking the can down the road of, I got to activate some of these guys. I got 4 goalies. That's the target area. But looking at this team right now, third of the way through the season, the numbers on paper are good. They're 5th in the league in scoring, 6th in goals against, first in power play. They're nearly 69%, very nice 69% on the power play after going 2 of 6 games without even getting a chance. The next closest is in second place at 56%. Like, they're heads and away the best power play team in the entire league. They're just not getting chances. Penalty kill, 4th in the league. Shots on goal, 4th in the league. Shots against, 1st in the league. So if you're just looking at that, they're doing fantastic. The area that I think they're struggling in, and I was like, man, this isn't adding up. And then I did the math. Last year from their forward group, they got 45 caused turnovers from their forward group. This year, through 6 games, it's 2. Like, the forwards are not either, like, they're getting back, but they're not doing the same type of pressure on the defense and causing those turnovers and getting those secondary opportunities. I don't know why I'm struggling so much there. But to me, that between not inconsistent rosters because Benny's been out, and then you were just trying to figure out who the other righty is going to be between Triolo and Nielsen. So between that and not the same starting 7, I mean, the first game you had starting 8 of the forward group, combined with them not getting secondary opportunities there, that makes up, 11.5 goals a game. It's okay. That's solid right now, the 5th in the league, but they've been normally up and over 13. And I know you lose Frazier and Kluch, so you need to find secondary opportunities there. Their inability to get caused turnovers from the forward group right now, to me, I think is a big glaring issue and something that I think they need to use this bye week to address, because the offense to me has been the issue. It hasn't been the back end. Yeah, Matt Vince is only making 77 save percentage, but when you're allowing just 45 shots, even if you let in 10, the numbers are going to be down. So you can only that's why numbers only tell part of the story. Your eyes tell the other part, and then everything else is part of that. But I thought that was weird that last year, 45 caused turnovers, 6 games in, it's 2 combined from the forward group. So I think them being more aggressive on the back check, on getting up right in their faces and not having to worry about them getting right off the field, I think that could be an opportunity where they take a few more chances of staying on the field a little bit longer, trying to get a caused turnover and get a better shot, because, Ian McKay got one of those caused turnovers from, I think it was Alex Bouquet, and hit
yes. Yep.
Kyle Buchanan right there. I think we need to see more of that from the forward group to get those secondary opportunities until the forward group meshes, and until, Ian McKay is able to catch those balls and finishes, until another guy like a Scanlon steps up or a Nanacoke step up. So I think that's one way to get more goals for this offense to help out the back end, who has looked really, really good this season.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the size and group they have up there now. I know Scanlon's always trying to bang, and Benny's a bit of a bruiser when he's out there pushing people around, and Buchanan tries to play big, but those 3 guys are more loose ball guys. They're not really going to cause turnovers, whereas Cloutier is always banging. Frazier's a very physical, big-bodied kind of player. I know he's not huge, but he was always very physical, very up in everyone's face. So I wonder if the style of players they have are causing the team not to have as many caused turnovers, because you don't have somebody up in the face, where Dane and Josh are kind of sitting back a little bit, waiting for that outlet pass and then getting in the lanes and picking things off. And I feel like they don't have as much of a forward press kind of thing in hockey. They don't have as much of a forecheck. Yes, they're there and they're trying, and they get the occasional loose ball, and they're still doing a really good job between Scanlon and Buchanan of that, of staying out there, being the last guy, fighting 3 players and getting that loose ball. But I feel like they aren't getting the cause turnovers as much. And like you said, there's so many times, and I know it's a big thing about transition, and I get it. The Bandits have been really, really good about killing other teams' transition for a couple years now, and this is why they do it. But they run off so early sometimes, and it's so frustrating. There was a time, I think it might have been last game, where there was still 12 seconds on the clock.
They were along the boards, the ball, and they got it back, and then they looked, and there was
got it back, and it's just one guy on the field, and he's like, okay, I guess I'll just go take it myself. And I get you're trying to curb transition, but at some point you got to be more aggressive. And these let the transition happen if it means possibly getting that extra opportunity. If all those guys are out there, you still have 12 seconds on the clock to get that extra goal. You lose a game by 1 goal, that could be the deciding factor. So I'm all about them trying to stop transition and getting off a little bit early, but sometimes they seem like they're so anxious to get off the floor to stop transition that they're less worried. They're more worried about that and less worried about trying to score the ball. It just seems like sometimes that's too much on their mind, and they're just oh, all right, get off. There's 10 seconds left. Let's get out of here and make sure the other team doesn't score. I wish they would be a little bit more aggressive and push that limit a little bit further.
So I personally think they need another righty forward, but they've got 5 on the roster right now. When you're looking at the roster bodies, a lot of guys are coming back. Like Zach Belter, to me, is ready to come back. You got Tyson, who is questionable. He's likely coming back. Spanger has been practicing. Can they push him off a little bit? Sure. Desnu, there was a report that he's probably back the end of this month. I think he's probably middle of February, late February at this point. So you got a little bit of time on Spanger and Desnu. But you got one open spot right now on the practice squad. You can probably put that right to Coltrane Tyson, because I don't think you're going to activate him and put him right on the active roster immediately. I think you got to do that with Zach Belter. Like, it sounds like he's healthy and ready to go coming up this week. That means you got to open a spot. So that's why, to me, whether it's releasing somebody, whether it's trading somebody, there's going to be another move, unless there's an injury that we don't know about, to work through this kind of roster jam that they had. We went into the season going like, there's so many open spots now that there's things to grab, and then it got tightened up really quick with adding Mike McCannell. So I am very interested to see what this roster looks like moving forward, because it's a good situation to have where you're getting very healthy and the back end's been looking really good, but you're going to have to go out and get a forward, in my opinion, Joe Terrace. But I am very interested to see what Chugger's next move is, because he's not done. Like, I think he's made 3 trades so far. 4.
He can't be done.
He can't be done. He's made 4 trades since the start of the season, acquiring Mitch Desnu, trading Max Adler, bringing in Mike McCannell, and trading Steve Orleman. That's 4 trades so far. I think there's at least 2 or 3 more in that bag of tricks before the season and trade line's up. So I'm very interested to see, but like, there needs to be more moves here, unless there's injuries that we don't know about here. And I would be very shocked to see if it didn't come from the righty forwards. Like, I think it's between Nielsen and Triolo, and I think they value Lucas Nielsen because he's a former first-round pick, and he's on the active roster for all last year, and he got a little bit of taste here. So I think, to me, if my eyes go anywhere on what isn't fitting and what isn't working, it's Mike Triolo, especially when to me, their best lineup is 4 lefties. Having 5 righties doesn't really make sense. So whether that means trying to get Mike Triolo to the practice squad, or seeing if he has any value around the league here, or, he is a righty. Does he fit in Halifax? Does he fit in Toronto? Like, does Philly want another? Like, I think he's going to try to stay East Coast because this is more of his area of work. So you're looking in that area, maybe a Philly. Like, it will be interesting to see, but to me, my eyes go right towards Mike Triolo on something that isn't really gelling with this team right now. And when you need to open a roster spot, to me, that's where my eyes go.
Yeah, I was going to bring him up, but you already took care of it. He's also, to me, the odd man out on the roster right now. I think it's crazy because the defense is very soon going to be way too loaded, and have a ton of depth all over the place once everybody's healthy. So you would think that you and I would kind of look to the defense to be like, hey, there's too many bodies back here at this point. But I think it's working back there, and I don't think you want to lose any of the players. And McCannell, I know it was just 1 game, but to me, he looked good. Like, I liked him on this team. So I think and you traded for him, so I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon either. So it's going to be tough as far as who is gone. To me, again, I think Triolo, with the couple of auditions he's had for the Bandits, I have not liked what he brought to the offense. When they brought him in the offseason, I was like, great, that's the kind of guy we need. This is another big body. He can go in the middle, shake it up, and free up lanes for everybody. It's not really what he's doing. And he just doesn't seem, and again, it's only been, 2 games that he's been in. So, from us, he hasn't really gelled that well with the offense, but it might take more than 2 games. Maybe they see something we don't. So we'll see what happens. But to me, Triolo would be the one currently who's the odd man out. And Tyson, I don't know when he gets in a game. It's definitely going to depend on injuries, but I am excited to see what he brings. I think they're very high on him, and they already in preseason had him. He's supposed to be a forward. They had him back on defense. They had him a little bit of transition, so they seem to be kind of moving him around and like what he brings. I'm excited to see him get into a game, but if everyone's healthy, I don't know when that's going to be.
Yeah, especially when we officially confirm that Dylan Robinson is a lefty. Buffalo, Not a righty, lefty. Made me look like an idiot in the last episode going like, he's playing offhand the whole time. And I'm going, thank God I didn't ask John Tavares this because I would have looked like a fool. He's a lefty. Please fix that on your website, and then everybody else can trickle down and fix it.
But your eyes were correct.
My eyes were correct. He looked really good playing lefty
As a
because
lefty.
he is a lefty. I'm going to go back in prior years and see, because I do not remember him playing on the left side on defense until this year. So maybe he just plays better on the right side, but that's a different conversation. We're on to the 5th year of our annual award nominees. We're going to fly through this because we're going to talk more about these individual players on the next episode because we're already an hour 5 in. But here are the awards. We got 7 of them. And they're just like last year. I shouldn't say every year because one of them was an addition after year 1 and we got rid of another one. MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved Player, Best Off-Season/In-Season Edition, and the BSC Challenge. The nominees for MVP this season are Josh Allen, James Cook, Dion Dawkins, Spencer Brown, Shaq Thompson, Matt Prater, and Cole Bishop. Phil, break down these list of nominees real quick.
Yeah, I love that. We got a couple offense, couple defense, and a kicker. Like it. Offensive line, huge. Kept Josh Allen upright most of the year. So Dawkins and Brown. Cook, NFL rushing leader. Josh Allen is
MVP finalist.
Josh Allen, MVP finalist for the actual NFL. I mean,
ours
not as important. Yeah, ours is better for sure. Shaq Thompson was a massive addition to this team and was a big person to bring in. And then Cole Bishop, my goodness, was he talked about so much at the end of the year and how impactful he was. And, I mean, he was someone who last year we were questioning how good he was going to be. And, wow, he really turned that defense around and did everything he could to make an impact out there.
Next, nominees for Offensive Player of the Year. They are Josh Allen, James Cook, Khalil Shakir, Reggie Gilliam, Spencer Brown, and Dion Dawkins.
Had to sneak a wide receiver in there. Shakir.
It was tough.
Shakir is really good. I know we talk a lot bad about most of the wide receivers, but he's pretty much a wide receiver too. But he's a really
he's pretty much a running back.
Yeah, he gets most of his catches behind the line, and his yards after catch are incredible. When we were watching the Broncos game, I was talking to my wife about Gilliam, and every time he was out there, and I was like, oh, there he is. They're going to push. And he's very important for his very small role. Spencer Brown, Dion Dawkins, Allen, and Cook. We already talked about him.
If Reggie Gilliam played the amount of snaps and had the role that he should have last year, Buffalo would have beaten Kansas City. Defensive Player of the Year. This one's kind of ugly. Plug your ears. Gregory Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Deion Walker, Matt Milano, Shaq Thompson, Christian Benford, Cole Bishop, and Trey White.
Definitely a few people that PK recently bashed earlier in the episode. Ed Oliver got injured. Walker looked really, really good. Milano had flashes of an old self. Shaq Thompson saved the year. Christian Benford was a solid CB for them. Trey White came in and did the best he could. He actually looked really good at times. And then Cole Bishop, we already talked about.
Yeah, I think this year it was a lot of players that don't put up the stats that made names for themselves, like the Walker, like the Christian Benford, and less so that players. I mean, Terrell Bernard won the award last year. He's not even a nominee this year. Part of it is because of injury. Part of it is because he just fell off a freaking cliff.
Yeah.
Rookie,
I think Taron Johnson was also nominated last year. And same
he fell off a cliff. Former Defensive Player of the Year winner for us. Rookie of the Year. This one's also ugly. Plug your ears again. Jackson Hawes, who I thought had a very good season considering what his role was. Max Harrison, injury riddled year. Deion Walker, TJ Sanders, plug your nose. Jordan Hancock, Landon Jackson, and Dorian Strong. I think this is we're not going to announce the winners, but if you just listen to that, I think you know who the winner is.
Well, PK took care of that. Basically, Brandon Bean, get better at drafting because this is a joke of a rookie class.
Remember when he went on WGR and was like bragging about all the defensive players he picked up?
Yeah, they're great.
They're right there. Yay. Most improved player. We got 5 names on this list. I apologize. You'll kind of see It's one offensive player, and his name is Osiris Torrance. Cole Bishop, Trey White, AJ Epinesa, and Matt Milano. 5 names for this award.
Yeah, the offense didn't really do much. No one really improved. Not great. Milano, though, huge coming off his injury. He did a really, really good job. Cole Bishop, we talked about. Trey White, again.
He was fantastic at the end of the season.
He really was. And for someone that they didn't expect a ton of, we didn't expect a ton of, I guess we'll put it that way. He brought a lot more to the team than I think anybody thought. And if they had great players above him, and he was, the third in line, the fourth in line, he would have been amazing, but not the number 2 in line. And then AJ Epinesa had some pretty big plays. I don't know, PK already ripped his contract as well, but he had some good plays.
Best offseason, in-season addition, Brandon Cooks, Joey Bosa, Shaq Thompson, Trey White, Jordan Poyer, Matt Prater, Mitch Wisnowski, Mike Wazowski, and Josh Palmer. A lot of good, not great names on that list, Phil. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, this is called the Brandon Bean isn't very good at his job
This is called
award.
the clearance section.
Yeah. Brandon Cooks actually was again, this is so ridiculous that Brandon Cooks made a monster difference to this wide receiver room and looked like the only player out there at times that had any kind of juice. And
he was the only player that could get open.
He really was. And it's so eye-opening to see what a wide receiver looks like when they can get open and how few times that happens ever for Josh Allen. They are never open. When you see Brandon Cooks open, you're like, oh my gosh, a wide receiver's open, and that's what that looks like. And then he would have too much time, and he would drop the ball. Joey Bosa, not impactful enough, but he did some things at times. Shaq Thompson, he was there. He was getting faked out all the time. He did not know which way to go. Thompson, White, Poyer. Poyer was a big addition. Again, just ridiculous, but he came out, did way, way better than anybody expected, then got injured at the worst possible time, and his backups. Again, Poyer would have been great if he's the third guy or fourth guy on that list.
Or the practice squad where he started.
Right, not elevated, and then
remember when Taylor Rapp was the starting safety on this team too?
My gosh.
Remember that was a thing?
Matt Prater saving the season. Mitch Wisnowski punting the ball, and then Palmer. He could have gotten open. Maybe he got open to the bench and injured.
Should have just showed this list to Terry and just go which one of these is the one that saved his job? BSC challenge. If you haven't listened to this before in the prior 5 years, this is us challenging a player, whether it's we need to see more out of or we want to see more out of, whatever it is, that's our own interpretation. This year's nominees: Keon Coleman, Cole Bishop, Tyler Bass, Josh Palmer, and Terrell Bernard.
Yeah, the challenge for Keon Coleman is to stay on the team currently. We'll see if that happens. Cole Bishop, can you keep it up? And it was
without
this year
Jordan Poyer. Yeah, that's
exactly. Was this year a fluke, or can you kind of handle the workload on your own? Because my goodness, you're going to need to. Tyler Bass, I was challenging him before he got injured. Now he's really challenged after being injured. I don't think they can count on, was he 41-year-old Prater? 42?
He'll be 42.
He'll be 42. Probably not the kicker you want to bring back. Bernard, my goodness, you already talked about him. And then Palmer, again, just a wild disappearing act for somebody you paid a lot of money.
Terrell Bernard goes from defensive player of the year to what we
being
saw.
Challenged to do anything.
Yeah, to stay on the team. Another player that earned a contract probably didn't deserve. But that wraps up this one. Stay tuned for Monday's episode where we go through and announce the winners. But Phil, another longer episode, but we covered so much in this one. I'm surprised it didn't go as longer than this. But anything else to add before we shut it down for a weekend? I'm getting one of my foster dogs back for a couple days to see him, and we're watching him this weekend. So we're going to be busy with nearly 1-year-old puppy running around the house who apparently still thinks he's like 12 pounds. And he's up and over 50. So we're going to be busy over here. But anything else to add this episode before we shut it down for a fun, hopefully not as cold as they're predicting, weekend?
Yeah, it's a weird weekend to have nothing. We go from so much action between the Bandits and the Bills playoffs and everything being ramped up, and then just cut. Just nothing. Enjoy the snow. Stay inside, lock your doors, and stay warm.
All I'll say is if Bills were going to lose, this was the perfect week for them to lose because Bandits were on bye, so we can get to wrap this season up and kick them out the door and not talk about them until draft time. So this wraps up this episode. Next episode, like we mentioned, we'll find more Bandits talk. Sabres, they're winning 3-2 after 2 right now, I believe it is. And then we'll go over our 5th annual BSC Awards show. Phil and I are going to dress to the nines. He's probably going to light up his Christmas tree that he still got up in January. And we'll go from there. But thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Go. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com, where you can still find Phil's article. It's there all the time. Prior years are there as well. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bundle up, stay warm. Bye-bye.